Hi everyone, and welcome back to our channel, or welcome to our channel if you're new. For today's video, we'll be showing you how to make DHALPURI. Now DHALPURI is a form of roti that's made primarily in the West Indies, and more specifically in Guyana and Trinidad. And it's a form of roti where inside of the roti you have split peas ground up. And it's a very delicious type of roti and very soft and fluffy, so if you'd like to see how to make this, then please keep on watching. Before we get into the actual roti, we're going to first work on our split peas. So you're going to take 4 cups of water and put it to a boil in a pot, and then you're going to add 1.5 cups of split peas to that pot and let it cook for about 15 to 20 minutes. And you can stir it occasionally just to make sure nothing sticks to the bottom. A great way to tell if your split peas are done are to take a couple of them into a plate and take the back end of a spoon and mash down onto it. Now if they mash down almost into a paste, then they're perfect and ready to go. Now that we have our split peas, we're going to move on to the actual roti. So you're going to need 4 cups of flour. You're then going to need 1 teaspoon of baking powder and 2 teaspoons of butter. And you're also going to need 2.5 tablespoons of vegetable oil. So now we're going to put these ingredients into our flour, so that is the baking powder and the butter. Also, all of the ingredients that I've talked about will be in the description below. You're also going to add your oil. And now we're going to mix all of this into the flour. Now we're mixing it with our hands, but you can use a mixer or a blender, whatever you would like to use. But we decided it's a lot easier with our hands since you can incorporate everything and you know everything is properly mixed into one another. So now that our flour is properly mixed, we're going to start adding some lukewarm water into it. So we're going to use altogether 1.5 cups of lukewarm water. And you're just going to add this water very gradually and start to mold it into a dough. And you want to keep doing this and keep adding water as you go. And that way you can form pieces of dough from the flour and start to get whatever's left at the bottom. Now that we have a full piece of dough, you're going to add some sprinkles of water once again and start to work that into the dough even more. And what this is going to do is make it more of a dough that's not going to stick to you, and it's also going to get whatever flour would have been left over from the sides of the bowl. And then you're going to take some in your hand and you're still going to push that into the dough, work it into the dough until nothing is left onto the sides. And then you're going to sprinkle a little bit of flour on top just to make sure that there's nothing sticking onto your hands and around you. So you're just going to work that also into the dough. And now we're going to take 1 teaspoon of vegetable oil and add that straight on top of the dough. And then you're going to have to work this back into the dough. Now, I know what you're thinking. These are a lot of steps just to make roti, but trust me, all of this will pay off in the end. When you're going to cook the roti, you want it to rise ever so slightly, just so that the split peas can cook on the inside and create a layer of split peas on the inside. You'll get what I mean when you see it, but just know that all of these steps are very crucial to make the perfect DHALPURI. So now that our dough is finally complete, we're going to cover it with saran wrap or any type of cloth, and you're going to let it sit and rise for about 15 to 20 minutes. And now we're going to move on to our split peas. So now that our split peas are cooked, you're going to add 4 cloves of garlic to it and 2 Wiri peppers or any types of peppers that you want to use. And then we're going to put this into our traditional, very old, but very useful Dhal grinder. So this is a yellow split peas grinder. We've had this for years. And we're going to use this, but you can use any type of food processor to do this. We just use this because we've always used it and it's one of the best ways to grind split peas. But like I said, you can use anything that you like. And as you can see here, what this Dhal grinder or split peas grinder, whatever you want to call it, what it does is that it makes it into a very like soft, flat paste almost. And this is what you want to do in the food processor if you're using a food processor. You want to make sure that it's flat, that it's grinded up really, really well, because you're going to work this into your dough afterwards. Now that we have our ground split peas, you're going to take 1 teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of ground cumin, and 1 teaspoon of oregano, and you're going to add that straight into your ground split peas. And now you're going to mix all of this up, and the reason why we're just adding these extra seasonings is just to give it a more savory flavor, because we did add pepper and garlic, but we didn't add any salt to the peas, so it just needed a little bit of boost of flavor. And now we're going to set this aside to be used into our dough. Now moving back to our dough, as you can see, it has risen nice and puffy, and that's exactly how we want our dough for our roti. And now you're going to take some flour and add it onto a clean surface. We're using our counter. And you're just going to add your dough right on there. And now we're just going to roll out the dough into a long section. And you're just going to stretch and roll. And now you're going to just cut these into medium size sections. So you don't want these sections to be too big, and you also don't want them to be too small. You just want to average these sections and just cut it straight down. And now you're going to take each section that you made and you're going to roll it up into a ball. And the reason we're doing this is just to make it easier to make sections later on for the dal or the split peas to be put into. And this is all prep work. You can do this ahead of time. We're just showing you how to do each section or each step of the process. So now that we have all of those rounded out, you're going to take them and start to flatten them out ever so slightly. You're just going to make sure that it's flat enough that it can hold something inside, but it's also not thinned out where you can't fold it together without it having holes into it, if you get what I mean. And then you're going to add some oil onto it as well as some flour. And then you're going to take some of your split peas and you're just going to take a handful and add it straight onto your dough. And now this part is very important. You're going to pull and pinch. So this is the method that we use to close up the roti, just to make sure that it has all of the pieces of the dal inside. And then you're going to pinch and turn just to make sure that all of it is closed up. Kind of like if you're making dumplings, if you've ever made dumplings, it's a similar process. And you're going to pull that and press it straight down. Now we're moving on to the cooking process. So we're using a tawa, which is a kind of flat surface that we use to make roti on. But if you don't have one of these, you can use a pan or a skillet. It will work just fine. And we're just oiling this down with vegetable oil, and we're just brushing this straight on just so that it has enough oil so that when you put the dough onto the tawa, it does not stick. So now you're going to take those same balls filled with split peas and you're going to start gently pressing them out. And then you're going to add a little more flour onto it just so that it doesn't stick to the counter when you start to roll it. And then you're going to flatten it down and push down. Then you're going to take your rolling pin and roll it out. And as you can see, because there's flour at the bottom, it spins on its own as you roll the rolling pin. And you're only going to flip it once, so you're going to flip it and roll it just as you did before on the other side, and then you have a perfectly done roti. And then we're just going to stick this right onto the tawa, our roti maker, and you're going to flatten it out. Each side takes about a minute on high heat. It really depends on your stove, but on high heat it takes about a minute just to get a nice brownish color. And when it's a yellowish color, you're ready to flip it for the first time. We use our hands more frequently when we're doing this, but do not use your hands if this is the first time you're doing this. We recommend using a spatula. As you can see, it works very well and it works just the same. And you're going to oil the side that's to you. The side that's on the actual roti maker is just going to get brown on its own. And you're just going to oil this very rigorously, just because we want a nice yellowish tint to your roti. Now, as you can see, it's ready to flip, so we're just going to flip that around, and that's when you know it's perfect. So you're going to flip it right over. Now, as you can see, this is the bottom side of the dal puri, and you're going to add more oil onto that side. On this side, you'll start to see small air bubbles, not small, but like certain areas of the roti that is going to start to puff up, and that's what you want to see. That's how you know that your roti is near finish. So you're going to take your spatula and flip that right over, and now you're going to see that it has almost a line around it, and because of this, you're going to see everything start to puff up. So now, as you can see, you're just going to round it off with the spatula, and that helps it rise even more. And it's not going to rise any larger than this, but this is when you know that your roti is completely finished. And you're just going to flip that and fold it neatly to plate. And that concludes today's video on how to make dal puri. Now, as you can see, it has that thin layer of split peas that I was talking about earlier, and that makes it even more delicious to eat. This type of roti is best served with any type of curry, and it can also be eaten on its own as a dish, but today we paired it with curried soya chunks, and we're going to display this recipe in our next video. And it just makes for a very delicious meal, and especially for dinner. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to leave a like on this video. Comment down below if you've tried any of these recipes, or even if you have a recipe for dal puri, we'd love to hear it. And also be sure to check out our social media pages, which will be in the description box below. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, and I hope you guys have a fantastic week. We will upload this following video probably over the weekend, so thanks for watching.